Welcome to Goonie's World. I am Goonie, also known as Colin, and I am joined by Unicorn, also known as Lynn.
Hello, good evening.
And Meanie, also known as Ryan. Well, maybe not. He still doesn't realize that he was muted.
He's muted.
No, he still doesn't know. Mm-mm.
Oh, I thought I unmuted myself. I muted myself. Oh,
That's one of the bloopers reel.
bloopers reel. But hi.
And let's not forget our GM, whatever they call it in this system.
I'm not even sure. Probably referee? Warden.
Johnny Farrow, also known as Sean.
Hey. I like the sound of that. Warden Johnny Farrow. Well, we say warden in relation to a forest, I believe, because the theme of the game we're playing tonight is a deep, dark forest. We're playing Cairn, a game by Yohai Gao, where players act as hardened adventurers exploring a dark and mysterious wood filled with strange folk, hidden treasure, and unspeakable monstrosities. It's inspired by Into the Odd and Knave, and in fact it's really kind of a mashup of the two, plus some original ideas. I actually discovered the game when Yohai and Brad reviewed my game, Mission Excalibur, on their podcast Between Two Cairns, both of which, the game and the podcast, are well worth checking out. But for this game, we're using elements of the second edition playtest rules that they have for free online, although I'm using the print-on-demand book of the first edition. Anyway, this game has no real canonical setting other than it takes place in a dark and mysterious wood. So our dark and mysterious wood is somewhere in Hungary in the 1520s. This is the Öreg Erdő, the Old Forest. It's a surviving part of the primordial forest that once covered the entire European plain. There are pathways through it, and there are clearings in it where folk dwell, but the vast bulk of the old forest is old growth, undisturbed by man, home to things darker and stranger and not necessarily friendly. So outside of the wood, the land is divided and without a king. There are rival monarchs vying for the throne. Without getting into the politics of it, there are mercenaries ravaging the lands all over. And they're doing more harm to the population even than the Ottoman Turks, who are currently besieging Vienna in the south. There's a lot of movement of peoples and refugees. So there are people traveling in from Germany and Romania and Poland, and there are Slavs and Croats and all kinds of people crisscrossing the landscape. To make it even worse, there's famine, there's disease, and it's been a cold and sunless year on top of it all. Things are bad all over. And either some Western European powers like the Habsburgs will end up ruling here, or the heretic Turks will rule here. But either way, it feels like it's the twilight of the Kingdom of Hungary, and these are its last days. So it's small wonder that some folk now look to this ancient wood as a refuge from all the strife of the world. And so travelers, refugees, deserters, adventurers, they've all started moving along the paths between these huge moss-covered trees. But perhaps Öreg Erdő has a sinister danger of its own, and it's no safer a haven than anywhere else in the world. But let's meet our characters. We'll see the people who are going to be going into the Old Forest. And I think we will start with Ryan. Tell us about your character.
Nazywam się Dobrogost.
I'm only 29, but I look probably 59. And I talk old, like I'm old as well. For personal reasons. I've seen shit, man. But he's a scrawny, short, middling to short, scrawny, bald man with oily skin, kind of an elongated face, very precise speech. He's very concerned that people understand him correctly. And he wears strange kind of vintage antique clothing even for this time. He looks like he would be more in place maybe 200 years ago. He tends to be quite humble, yet also quite craven. And yes, he just carries a dagger and a torch, primarily, and a backpack.
All right. Okay. Very vivid. Colin, tell us all about your character.
I am Zabagushka, and I'm a half-witch. And I am 38, so I'm an elder. And,
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yes, I like to wear a ghillie suit. Yes. And you may call me Mama Zabagushka if you want.
Okay.
I didn't have children of my own.
Okay.
What was Mama Zabagushka? Was that
Yes,
right?
Mama Zabagushka.
Yeah, I hope you don't bake any kids into a pie. Jeez.
No, I would never.
Okay. All right, and finally, Lynn, tell us about your character.
All right, so I am Barbie, the Bonekeeper. Let's see. I am wearing a black leather tunic and a plague doctor's mask. So some of my features you may not see. I'm lanky. I'm scarred. I have a long braid that sticks out of the top of my plague keeper's mask, and I'm pale. You may have noticed that my voice is gravelly, and I'm kind of filthy. Not big on, showers or creek baths. I don't like to have to take off all my leather and my plague mask. You never know when something plaguey's going to be floating through the air. You got to keep that shit on all times. And I am serene in my attitude, but I am rude in my interactions with people.
Well,
Unless they're dead.
okay.
I like the dead ones.
Yeah, they're easier.
That's right. They don't
Easier to-
talk back.
Yeah.
What do you mean, plaguey things floating through the air? There seems like some understanding of microorganisms that we do not have at this time.
Yeah, it's bad air.
Bad air. That's right. Plus insects follow me around all the time, and they sound like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Don't you hear that? Don't you hear the insects buzzing?
I just hear buzzing. It's
It's just
frightening.
normal buzzing. There's no melody to it.
That's right. Well, neither of you hear a song in it, but certainly Barbie the Bonekeeper does. You've been traveling for a while together now. You've been getting to know each other. And as far as what exactly brought you here to the forest, I know each of you has a reason of your own, and you can reveal that over time if you want to. But you have set off together, and let me describe the forest that's around you. You haven't been in too deep yet, but after a few hours of travel, it seems quite a pleasant place, really. The sunlight is filtered through a featureless sky. It's just a flat, dull gray. But even that now is not quite visible. There are only silvery shafts, columns of light coming down through the forest canopy every now and then above you. And there are actually blackish purple and blood scarlet tulips in profusion here, especially near the shafts of silvery sunlight. And the path is broad enough here for a small wagon to get by, but not two small wagons to pass. Most of it's mud. It's not paved, and there are tall grass tufts coming up here and there. Anyway, as the morning goes on, the canopy thickens, and those pillars of silver sunlight become less abundant, and whatever pleasantness the forest seemed to have earlier, by mid-afternoon, now seems still and uncanny. And you begin to feel as if just a tiny part of this forest is, if not malevolent, then at least disinterested in you. There's almost a disregard for you. You feel very small compared to the great Öreg Erdő. But just as this feeling is reaching its peak and your conversation has died out, the canopy brightens up ahead of you on the path. Rather abruptly, really, you come upon a clearing. There are several acres of cultivated land here, and they're covered with struggling fields of chickpeas and black vetch and hops, but none of it looks very wholesome or as if it will create a bountiful harvest later. In the midst of all those fields are a dozen small houses with very steep thatched roofs, crowding in on some tradesmen's buildings and a stables and what looks like an inn. And not far away from that cluster of buildings is a modest church. It's hundreds of years old. It's a Catholic church at this time and place. There's a cemetery beyond the church on the other side, away from the town. And there's a sign on a pillar proclaiming this village to be Szomorú. And there are a few figures moving about among the houses, but as soon as you come to the edge of the clearing, those figures see you and immediately go back inside their houses. Apparently the folk of Szomorú are wary of strangers. So, that is the situation in which you find yourself. I'll let you guys discuss it.
How many buildings?
There's about a dozen farmhouses, 2 major trade buildings, and then a building that is probably an inn. There's the stables as well. All of which you could go cause trouble in if you want to.
Oh, do not wish to cause trouble, but I think the inn would be a good place to start, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, it almost always is.
What time of day did you say it was?
Well, you have a few hours of daylight left. It was mid-afternoon when it started to get uncanny. And it's summertime, late summer, so it'll stay bright for a while longer. You have a few hours of daylight left.
Well, we're not likely to find any other inns before it gets dark.
I do not wish to be camping in the forest. It's too dangerous.
It is dangerous, but it's soothing too, with the little songs it plays when the insects are flying
There
around.
is no songs, but in your mind. I think we all should rest here. We can eat up. I think you two need some more meat on your bones. You look too frail to me. You need to plump up.
You're not
Oh,
planning
boy.
to eat us, are you?
Yes.
Oh, no. It's for your own health. You just don't look healthy. You need a nice meal.
Yeah, plump up.
Oh, I'm very healthy, but I am also quite hungry, and these rations are. It's a bit tired of the salted meat and dried things. I want some real stew.
Yes.
Yes, and something to drink.
Oh, you need a lot to drink. You're very raspy.
I wonder if that would help. Like a bit of warm tea.
Yes.
Throat coat.
A little throat coat, right. Well, and as I say, things have not been well in the land since all the warfare and the dark times started. And even a nice warm hunk of bread is a luxury these days. A little greasy broth and a warm hunk of bread and some small beer. That goes down nicely for anyone. Probably it's about as much hospitality as an inn here in Szomorú has to offer. I assume you've been walking towards the village as you've been talking. And as you pass between the outermost of the farmhouses, you see a figure up ahead. And I remember everyone else had kind of scattered inside as you approached. Not in a dramatic Western-style way, but just quietly walking inside. The figure that you do see here in the road, he stands in front of the trade buildings. He has kind of a long but receding white hair, and he's leathery. Talk about someone who needs to eat. It's this guy. He looks like the dried jerky that Dobrogost is so sick of eating. And he holds a bow, a weapon that has fallen out of favor, by the way, in military circles. The crossbow is completely ubiquitous now. The bow is more of a hunting tool than a weapon these days, but this guy certainly wields it like a weapon, pointing it slightly down, so it's not directly pointed at you, but it is mildly threatening. And he says, "Stop there. What are you doing here in Szomorú?"
We're walking here.
You're walking.
We're walking here.
Yes. You must walk with the leave of Iaz, me, the warden.
Oh.
There are mercenaries in the land. How do I know you are not some of them out to molest these people?
We came to eat and sleep.
Yes.
Likely. Just travelers. Now where do you go in these dark woods? How do I know, again, you're not German mercenaries?
Do I look like a German mercenary? I'm an old 38-year-old woman just traveling through the woods looking for shelter, and I have brought some companions with me.
Yes, an old woman wanders out of the woods. And I should not be suspicious? I should not be protective of my flock?
There is nothing to concern yourself with.
And you, if you are a doctor, do not come here to peddle your wares. We will have none of it. He's, of course, speaking to you, Barbie, because you're wearing the plague doctor's mask.
I am no doctor.
Well, very well. I hope that you who look so hardened by life, are not a mercenary or someone who will cause trouble here, he says, looking at Dobrogost.
I don't come from Germany. I don't know why you think I look like a Hun or something. That's ridiculous.
Well, whether or not you look like a Hun, you do look rather hungry. So I suppose you must go to the Waffle House. And he points to the inn. The name of the inn is the Waffle House, or the Joffrey House, I think it would be. As you approach, the only other real point of interest in the place at all is the stables, and you do see that there is actually some animals in there that you didn't notice before. There are goats in there, quite a few crammed into the stable. They'd usually be allowed to run about in the grass within a fenced area, but that's not where they are. So there is a young boy who is making a manic gesture with one hand. He's not waving at you. He's just got some kind of twitch or palsy. He's sitting in the loft watching over the goats, but he's also watching you. There is also a little triplex of tradesmen's buildings. Based on the signage, there's a tailor there, and someone who claims to be a carpenter, but is probably more of a tinker or repairman. And there's a shoemaker's shop. Again, they're all clustered into this little triad of buildings. And that's the whole of the place, other than the inn and the church that's on a hill overlooking the village. Here in this clearing in the forest, that's the general setup of the place. As you push your way into the Joffrey House or Waffle House, there's a large warm room inside. There are pictures of the food items over the counter. Now, Just kidding, little Waffle House humor there. But it's large and warm, and it's dark, even in the daylight, because the windows aren't very big, and there's not that much daylight outside anyway. And there's just a very few candles in here. There is a man who comes up to you. I am Abel. I am Abel Joffrey Kovacs. This is my house. I see you are strangers here, but the warden has let you here. So.
Yes, we come seeking food and shelter.
Food I can give you. Beer, hard black bread, a little goat cheese, for a few small coins.
Of course.
Do you have hash browns?
Hash browns can be arranged.
Smothered, covered, and
That's exactly the joke I was going for.
Well, their smothered and covered is just extra runny cheese. Yeah. So,
Hey, close enough.
smothered, covered, and what are the other ones they have?
Scattered, smothered, covered, chunk top, diced.
yep, they got a whole
Wow,
list.
there you go.
It used to just be smothered, covered, and scattered, but then they added a few more over the years.
Well, the goat cheese is not exactly a delicacy, but it's not something you get every day. And they're obviously very protective of their goats as darkness approaches here in this town, as you have seen. Now, I don't know how much money you have on your character sheets. Oh, good, you do have it. Now, for a few gold pieces, yes. All of this can be
Good.
arranged.
Let me see. I'll scrounge around and find my gold pieces. It
Bring
might
me
take
beer.
me a long time. I have to look through my little coin purse.
Well, frankly, you probably got like little pie-shaped pieces of gold rather than, full larger coins. Gold is a pretty...
Well, I have 13 gold pieces, and
My goodness.
I will give him whatever it costs.
Oh, yes, you're generous. So, 2 for a meal. And for 3, you may sleep on the floor tonight.
All right.
Meal come with beer.
As I said, it comes with beer, yes. Goat cheese, hard black bread.
Excellent.
Beer. Excellent. Now, you're not the only ones in here, but there are 3 fellows in here nursing drinks and playing gammon over in one corner. They have cast a few curious glances over at you. The arrival of strangers is always a big deal. There are 2 other people speaking in a German accent, sitting by the one really good window, literally drinking buckets of beer. They both have entire buckets on their little table. They look a little shaken, a little nervous. And again, as I said, they're speaking in German together right now. So, maybe they're the German mercenary everybody's looking for. But they seem nervous about something. They seem upset. The others just seem a little slyly curious as they glance over at you. They seem like tradesmen. They're probably the tradesmen who own the shops that are closed up outside because they're in here drinking beer and playing gammon. And those are the people here. What do you want to do here in the Waffle House?
Well, our listeners may not know this, but I'm actually the one that invented straws. They didn't really catch on for, quite a while. But, I pull a long, clear tube of some sort, and I put one in my drink, and I put one up under my mask into my mouth, and that is how I drink, because I don't want to take off my mask.
Okay.
Eating is very complicated as well. Take very small bites and pretty much just eat with my hands and poke little pieces in there,
Well, when you get out the straw, that's enough to elicit even more attention, especially from the 3 who are playing gammon. I say, says one who wanders over to you, "Excuse me, I am Zabo, the tailor. I don't suppose you need any help with your garments.
What's wrong with my garments?
Oh, well, you could have a small tear, any of you. Or I could reinforce the knees and elbows, tuck in the waist. So hard to get business here.
My garments are the forest leaves and trees and the twigs and the grass, and you are not needed.
No? Very well. What about you, sir? You look very well traveled.
Quite, sir, quite, but it's not so. We've not been on traveling long enough to just, have the clothing break down in such a way that would require to be repaired.
Oh, well. I suppose so. You'll forgive me. That is my friend Epites, the carpenter, and that is Sipu, he's the shoemaker. I have to ask, out of curiosity, what brings you here to Szomorú? There's so few people traveling right into our village these days. Of course, we have these two here. They've come in and taken up most of the odd jobs, I'll tell you that much.
Are you certain they are not German mercenaries?
Well, we thought so at first, of course, but Iaz gave them a good talking to, good interrogation. They do seem trustworthy, and they have been doing odd jobs for Father Atya, the priest. However, but what about you? I would rather talk about you. What brings you here? And he lays a coin down on the counter as if to pay for a few more drinks. It's a friendly gesture, obviously. Hopeful to get you talking. So, tell me, what brings you here? Tell me, please.
I love the forest. It sings sweet songs to me.
I see. You are very poetic.
Yes. That's very observant of you.
Well, what of you, my hard-traveled friend?
I'm afraid if I told you, I don't think you would believe me.
Oh, Zabo likes to believe anything. Zabo wants to believe.
Well, I have a friend who wishes to be deep into the forest, and I must take him there. So I am traveling there to deposit him.
I see. You have a friend. Very well. I will assume these are the friends of whom you speak. Quite lovely to have friends. And of course you, old woman, you must be, what did you say, 38? How elderly. You who need no tailor, what brings you here?
I am merely wandering through the forest. I live in the forest.
They say many dark things live in the forest. Hooded men, root goblins, wood trolls, werewolves.
Oh, certainly not.
That's a very rude thing to suggest about Mama Zabagushka.
Well, she could be in
Yeah.
She could be in disguise. No, leave her alone, says another one at the gammon table. He stands up and accidentally bumps the gammon board with his knees, and the pieces fall all over the floor. And he comes up to where you're talking. Leave both of them, Zabo. I am Epites, the carpenter. I tell you, surely you must have something that needs repairing, any tinkering that needs done.
I can think of nothing.
No. Oh. Well, that's so too bad. I don't believe that you are a witch, but you said you are of the forest. So tell us of these dark things of the forest. Yes, people need protection around here lately, says the last one, Sipu, the shoemaker. The two German guys stop talking and look over at you.
I've heard and seen nothing in the forest. But the animals, that is all. There's nothing, it's simply rumors.
And the insects. Don't forget the insects.
Well, the trees, many trees.
Yes, animals, insects, and trees. That's what's in the forest.
that pretty much covers it.
Well, Abel, the waffle smith and the proprietor of the place, he says, no, there are dark things in the forest. I have seen root goblins with my eyes, and I have seen the signs of the hooded men carved upon the trees. You must only have experience traveling on the paths in the forest, old woman. If you were to truly go deep within the forest, I believe it would eat you alive, unless you have great power, which is not readily apparent. Yes, if it is so that you walk unmolested in the woods all of the time, all these stories have no validity?
Yes, that is my understanding. Just tales to scare children to make sure they don't wander off, get lost, or get hurt somehow.
Well, says Zabo, if you are so brave, perhaps you should speak to those Germans. They have something to do tonight they're too afraid to do. And if everything is just a fairy tale, then you will not fear to help them, for you fear nothing in the darkness, apparently. Oh, bold adventurers. And now the snarky tone in his voice that's creeping in is obvious. And the gammon-playing trio retreats to their corner and starts picking the gammon pieces up off the floor. And the Germans are still looking over at you. They look like they could be mercenaries. They're fit. They're broad-shouldered. They're a little ragged. But they're, of course, not armed or equipped at all like mercenaries.
Yes, they don't look very intimidating to me.
No, yeah, not at all. I don't think they are the mercenary. I don't know. I'm not afraid of them, but I don't know if it's true that there are dark things in the forest. I don't think so. I've not seen these things.
Yeah, they look shaken up, though, as if they've seen something. We might ask them what they think they've seen.
Well, they can see you looking at them, and now they're looking right back at you. Yeah, we have seen things. And I'm sure we will see many more things, terrible things. I've seen things I wish I'd never seen.
Oh, do we want to fill these Germans' buckets?
Yes.
I don't think I can afford to fill the buckets.
Oh.
We'd sooner fill our own buckets than yours.
Well, we'd fill your buckets if we could. Because we have some job to do tonight that we don't want to do. But we've already been paid to do it. But we already spent what we got paid to do it. So we had to bolster our courage, but now we are still too afraid. Yeah, says the other one. Perhaps such brave ones as you will go and do this job for us.
So you got paid to do it, and you chicken out, and now you want us to do it for free?
Well, I don't like to say chicken out, but we could pay you, but we could pay you in odd jobs. But we ask you as great heroes, you who walk through the forest unmolested by the hooded men and the root goblins, you who fear nothing, then surely you will not fear the necromancer. No, it's not a necromancer, it's a grave robber, but it's not a necromancer, yells one of the gammon players.
And you certainly must have something you can pay us for doing your jobs.
No, but Father Atya, he will pay you. He's a very good man. We spent the money, but he will pay you. We are not heroes.
Clearly.
Father what?
Father Atya. Yes. He does not want the more desecration of the graves from girls whose graves were dug up over the last several months. So he will pay you. He offered to pay us to stand guard in the cemetery because of the girl that was just buried yesterday. And we stood guard in the cemetery last night, but we heard noises, and we became frightened of their necromancer. And so we huddled behind the gravestones like children and were humiliated. Yes, we were humiliated. Yes. Now, please, we ask you. Father Arthur will pay you, but we ask you. Who else would steal dead bodies but their necromancer?
Well, I can think of a couple different types of witches, and he kind of eyes Mama Zabagushka a little bit. But does this mission require going deep into the forest?
No, not at all. You just have to stay up all night in the cemetery and take a watch and make sure that nobody steals the body of the girl that died. I don't recall her name at the moment. Her name was Amalia Bacco, says Zaba, who wanders back over. She drowned in a pool while she was collecting mushrooms at the edge of the wood. And she was buried yesterday. Other girls have died too, and their bodies were stolen. It was the work of grave robbers, yes, but to speak of necromancers is irresponsible and old-fashioned. Yes, these two here, they were hired, and now it appears they do not want to stand watch in a graveyard. But I do wonder, if not a necromancer, then who would want corpses,
I do not know. I know that the bones should stay at rest where they belong once we have deceased. It is the way things are done, and whatever it is quite unnatural.
Yes, of course death is natural, but there are those who say that the course of death is like the roll of the dice, yes? But here it seems the dice roll quite often against our young ladies. For there was Sophie, the birder, and she died of a fall. And there was Lena, the farmer's wife, and she died of the pox, And then Mila, the woodcutter's daughter, and she died when she took rat's bane. And so on. Especially little Hannah, who died in childbirth. And I tell you, all of this within 3 months, and all of the bodies taken. Yes. If one were superstitious, if one believed in monsters, which you clearly don't, old woman, how could one possibly fear necromancers? Or body snatchers? Or cannibals? What could it be?
Well, it's true. I have not seen or heard of these things, and I can think of no one who would want to dig up a body for good reasons. But I'm willing to stand guard if my fellow travelers stand by my side.
Oh, yes. Yes, you are the best. We will thank you so much. Yes, we will thank you. We will clean your shoes.
I think for payment, I will be speaking to Father Atia, but I think you must just eat up. Eat your fill, get nice and healthy and plump, and that will be good enough for me.
Yes, we will stuff ourselves so we will be like a juicy sausage by the time we are done stuffing ourselves.
Yes, that will make Mama Zabagushka very proud and happy.
All right. Well, says Zabo, pay no more attention to these. Perhaps if you wish to see Father Archer, you may see him. It will be dark soon.
Okay.
Well, I have no problem going out and doing watch in the graveyard, especially if it means we get to go deep into the forest. Because perhaps a necromancer or something comes and then he runs away. We chase him deep into the forest.
I tell you, says Zabo, you will have your chance to go into the forest soon enough. I feel this in my heart. You cannot just walk the paths forever and expect not to get sucked in. Something about it will get inside you. We know what is out there, and we have an agreement with it. We do not venture out into its world, and it does not venture onto our cultivated lands. But I warn you, if you desire to go deep into the forest, you truly know nothing about it, and bravado will not help you. I think that old woman also knows intimately what's in that forest.
No, there's nothing to worry about in the deep dark woods. No little cottages with any old ladies in there waiting for misplaced children or anything you might have heard like that.
Well, I assume that, rest assured, you will get a chance to go into the forest at some point. But for tonight, it does seem like the cemetery is a much closer option. Do you want to try to stop by the church on the way? It's right next to it. Try to talk to Father Atya?
Yeah, make sure we get paid.
Yeah. That's certainly what the Germans said. Ragnar and Volks. I think they were so nervous they never introduced themselves by name, I don't think. But Father Atya, he has a long beard. He's a Catholic priest, but he has more of an Eastern Orthodox look. That high, cowled style of hat. And the land here is still Catholic, although in recent years there have been some unhinged German preachers coming over the border screaming strange religious doctrines, but the population here is solidly Catholic. But this is a very run-down looking church, and it's obviously several hundred years old. It's been painted a few times, and it's all chipped and faded, so it has a scarred and mottled, pockmarked, party-colored look on the outside. In the graveyard, there's a statue of Saint Ladislav, but it's tilted to one side and covered with moss. In general, it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of great upkeep here, but the priest is standing right before the doors of the church with his hands outstretched almost as if in benediction. "Welcome, welcome," he says.
Hello.
Hello, Father.
Have you come to give your confession?
We've come to get paid for the job those slacker German guys are too scared to do.
Oh, no, I paid Ragnar and Volks to watch the graveyard tonight. I paid them.
Yeah, they said no. They spent the money.
They were too frightened like school children.
Oh. Well, they are like children. We must not judge them. They are German mercenaries, you know.
We surmised that.
Yes. But, they deserted, so we have allowed them to be here. They ran away. They had been impressed into service and press-ganged, as it were, into a mercenary unit, so I took pity on them, and so...
Will you not show pity on us? We need...
Well...
money for doing a job.
Yes. But your confessions... I must have your confessions. I must know you are true servants of the faith. I will absolve you of your sins, and then we'll discuss business.
What does Mama Zabagushka have to confess? I've never done anything.
Well, then Mama Zabagushka is better than I. I myself, Father Atya, have sinned many times.
Oh.
Yes.
May we have your confession?
Oh, well, that is not how it is ordained, my child. However, if you will not give me confession, I must assume that you are fallen from the true faith, and your hearts and souls may not be protected about the evils that the night may bring. Nevertheless, I will not force this upon you. I know there are new ideas coming across the land, dangerous new doctrines. However, a man must be free to believe what he wishes to believe. But whether that saves him against the devil is another story. Very well. I will give each of you 2 pieces of gold to stand watch.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You'll be happy to know that they spent that in the inn, so it goes back to the community.
Well, yes. Yes, support local economy. Very important to me. It's one of my number 1 concerns. Very well. You must do this then. Now, the girl, Amalia Bacco, was buried yesterday. No one has come for her yet, but the last 4 girls that were buried, they all came for her. And Amalia will not keep much longer, so they probably will come tonight. Perhaps God has ordained that you come here. Perhaps you're servants of God.
Perhaps I know that bones belong in the earth.
Yes,
And they should not be taken out of it.
indeed.
Can you tell me, is there anything in common with these females that were dug up?
Well, I would say they were all within childbearing age. And they were the first ones that we were actually able to practice proper undertaking again after our undertaker had died last year unexpectedly. And the few burials had to be done without the proper process, which I am not qualified to provide. But we had some of the graves dug up by animals, I hate to say, and desecrated. They had to be reconsecrated because the bodies were not properly prepared. So finally, when those 2 brothers, Zoltan and Zaus, came back from university in Vienna and took their uncle's old abandoned sawmill, not far from here, they had been studying to be physicians in Vienna. They were forced to leave their studies, but they had learned just enough to be undertakers. I would say, now that I think of it, one thing all those girls had in common was that they were all prepared for burial by these 2 brothers, who seemed decent sorts, if not quiet, a little socially awkward. But they've been working to restore...
What did you say the name of these brothers were?
Zoltan is the elder brother, and Zaups is the younger brother. They're not native to here, as I say. When their uncle died, they came and took the sawmill to restore it to health. Also, Vienna is no place to be right now, for anyone, really. Especially young men of a military age. And of course, remember, Vienna is being besieged by the Ottoman Empire. It's still pretty far away, but it's on everyone's mind. So yes. Oh, look, it's getting quite dark. Perhaps you'd best get on with it. And he does the sign of the cross over you and splashes some holy water on you and says a benediction. May God go with you. And remember that the body no longer contains the spirit. It is one thing to desecrate a body, but it is much, much worse to desecrate a soul. Remember that.
I shall.
All right. Well, you guys go outside behind the church, which is where the cemetery is. The church kind of blocks the view of the cemetery from the village. Yeah, the church and the hill it's on. The cemetery slopes down the hill on the back side of the church. And there are some hedges and low walls. Now, when he says dark, it's dark. There was total cloud cover, as you recall, and it's also a new moon out tonight. So it's almost pitch black. I guess it's not impossible to walk, and you can see a little way, and you can certainly get to the graveyard, and you can see the low wall and feel your way about through the shadows.
We'll have a torch also, so.
Yes, that's really my question.
Yeah, I
Do
also
you
have a
want to light up a
lantern.
torch? Because the potential drawback to that is that, if anyone were hidden somewhere watching you, they would obviously know where you were.
That's true.
Yeah. But I think, a suspicious mind might work that way. Yeah, so I'll bring that up.
Well, Dobrogost has no. It's dark. He needs light. Light the torch. He doesn't think about it. There's nobody hiding here. Clearly, come on.
And you light it. And you walk towards the low wall surrounding the cemetery. Now, right around the gate, the wall is quite low. You could just hop right over it. However, there's a gate that's been padlocked shut anyway. The low wall renders it rather meaningless. Unless you wanted to wheel a wagon in here. But it's easy to hop right over the low wall. And once you're over it, again, it's hard to see. But within the vicinity of your torchlight, and rather suddenly and startlingly, you do see that leaning statue of Saint Ladislaw, whose face is covered with moss, and it almost has a sacrilegious look to it, leaning as if he's drunk or in the process of a dying fall. And most of the gravestones around here are very, very old. And there's a bit of a pathway. It's created by hedges, which at some point in the past someone must have tended, but as far as you can see, they're not tended well now. That's about all there is. But you do have a chance to go ahead and make a will save to see if there's anything else that your intuition tells you beyond the obvious.
Got it.
Not even close.
I also failed.
Well, perhaps it's the long experience of your 38 years, Zell. I mean, Mama Zabagushka. I won't be so familiar to call you by your first name. But perhaps it's your old ears. But you hear a clank up ahead as if metal on metal. It's at the bottom of the hill on the other side of the cemetery. Then that's the bottom of the hill, because remember it slopes down from the church, and you hear that clank. And you can't quite be certain. Maybe you also heard like a choke voice, like a something like that. But you're the only one who heard it.
Hush now, I have heard the clanking of metal on metal, and a there's some commotion at the bottom of this hill.
I think you're imagining it. I hear nothing.
Oh
I
no.
only hear the song of the swarming insects.
I hear nothing of the sort. My ears are finely tuned. We must go and investigate.
All right.
Well, I'm willing to go and investigate, but I did not hear a thing, and I don't think there's anything to see at all.
All right. Well, you walk further down with your torch, and you go almost about halfway down the cemetery, halfway down the hill. But right when you get to about the midpoint, suddenly from up ahead, not far at all up ahead, just like 6 to 8 feet ahead, figures pop up. They've been laying down and hiding behind the hedgerows and behind the headstones. And they get up and begin running. It almost startles you. They're running away from you, though. Heading for a hedge.
Grave diggers! Stop
Well,
there!
I assume that you give chase and take off after them. It's about all you can do if you want to catch them. Now, they've got their shovels, which are bulky, and they take off running, though, like I said. As you chase them, the first thing they do is they crash right through some hedges. They just smash through them. If you want to be able to fight them or tackle them or catch them, you got to make a strength save to crash through the hedges, too. Do it without scratching up your legs or anything, or getting blocked by it.
Succeeded.
Nice.
Succeeded
Succeeded as well.
All right. well, you guys, you're gaining on them. You crash through the hedges, and you're getting closer. And you can certainly hear their breath, and they're kicking up bits of turf, hitting you in the face every now and then. They're that close. And they hurdle a row of gravestones in an effort to get away from you. They all do that successfully, like athletes. But all of you make a dex save to hurdle those gravestones so you can keep up with them as you make your way after them.
Oh, the 1.
Yeah, somehow, because my dex is super low. Like, I have a 5.
Yeah, you got it.
And I rolled a 4.
Oh, great. Awesome. Perfect.
Well, I have a 12 and I rolled a 15, so.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Well, you guys hurdle it. Unfortunately, Dobrogost trips over and falls on the other side of the gravestone, and you're a little bit delayed. Your friends are about a round ahead of you and running. And, in fact, you had the torch, so it falls to the ground next to you, and you two are running into darkness. And just then, because you can't see anything and it's dark, make a will save to see if you have the awareness to notice the wet grass in front of you. Just you two, not Dobrogost.
I failed by 1.
I succeeded by 1.
Man, you are one agile old lady.
Right?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Barbie the Bonekeeper slides down the patch of wet grass, and you look up, and you see that the shadow of the wall, the bottom wall of the cemetery at the bottom of the hill, and you can see the shadows of shovels sticking up over it as the 3 gravediggers are trying to climb up and out of there. And pretty soon our friend Dobrogost will be catching up and putting some light on the situation.
No, I don't think there's anything else for him to do.
Yeah. After falling and scrambling and picking up the torch, you lose sight of your sense for a second, and you chase after them, and the torchlight illuminates the scene as these 3 grave robbers with their shovels are trying to climb up and over it and over the low wall and get out of here. But Barbie is getting up off the ground with a wet ass from falling in the grass. Mama Zabagushka is, as always, seemingly perfectly calm and collected. And once the grave robbers realize they're not going to get away, they turn around and they hold up their shovels aggressively. One of them has a broken nose, the other one's completely toothless, and the other one has a brand on his face to show that he's a thief. And we don't roll initiative per se, but you guys make a dexterity save to see if you get to go before them, each individually.
Well, I rolled a 1, so.
Okay, so that's great.
I rolled an 18, so.
No, it's not great.
No luck here.
All right. And Colin?
I failed. I rolled a 7.
Okay. So Dobrogost will go, and then the grave robbers, and then you two will go, and that'll be the first round. So Dobrogost, what do you do? They look like they're going to try to, whack you guys in the skulls with their shovels.
Well, he's got a dagger, and he's gonna use it in the hand that is not, and he rolls, 6.
Okay. That is a fine roll and some good damage. And just for clarification, who do you think you'd be most likely to want to hit? The guy with the broken nose? That's totally crooked nose, too. Really bad break. Or the toothless guy, and you can tell because he's grinning, and it looks weird. And then there's the guy with the thief brand on his face.
He would probably go for the, let's see, there was the toothless guy, the branded guy, and then he would go for the one that I didn't just name.
Yeah, broken nose.
Yeah, broken nose guy.
Yeah. And you did 6. Well, that guy only had 4 hit points, or hit protection. So you've potentially done critical damage to him already. So he's got to roll a 9 or less, and he rolls a 10. He is out. Oh! He falls to the ground. He's going to die unless somebody helps him. He's completely out of it. His shovel falls to the ground and bangs against the low wall. But then, the other 2 spring into action, and the toothless one swings at your head with the shovel and does 4 points of damage to Dobrogost. Meanwhile, the other one with the thief brand on his face, he leaps up to the top of the wall and he throws his shovel at the scary-looking plague doctor and does only 1 point of damage, however. And then, after they go, our other friends, Mama Zamaguchka, what do you do? Well, your friend is getting hit in the head with a shovel.
I will attack that guy with my iron dagger.
All right. The guy with the thief brand who threw his shovel
Yeah.
at Barbie? Yeah. Go for it. You gotta rush up to the wall and smack his legs. He's standing on top
Die,
of it.
thief.
Ooh, and I rolled a 6 for damage.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice. Now, he's staggered. Ah! He's in great pain, cries out. I mean, just been like bashed in the shins. Yeah. However, he's still there. He's got a bit more hip protection than old Broken Nose. Bence was Broken Nose's name. Poor bastard. Certainly Gyozo with the thief's brand on his face is not completely down yet. Meanwhile, you've just been hit in the head with a shovel by these guys, Barbie, so what do you do?
I'm gonna use my sling, I think.
Alright. Who are you gonna sling?
I got a 6 too. The dude that just whacked me upside the head was trying to.
We just rolled 666
It's
for
true.
damage.
Oh,
my
no,
God, we're
666. Oh no. Oh no. Anyway, yeah, you also hit Gyozo, the thief. And now he'd already been reduced to like 2 hit points in the last attack, so now he's basically a -4. This guy's got to roll a 12 or less and stay up. He rolls a 14. He topples off the wall on the other side. He'll also die too unless somebody gets to him soon. That leaves Toothless Dominic, and he drops his shovel and he falls to the ground. Please, spare me, please.
You will answer questions and we will consider it.
Yes, anything. Please don't kill me. Let me help my friends first. Oh, wait, screw them. They were never my friends. They
Yeah.
brought me down dark paths
Why are you stealing graves?
for money. What other reason is there?
For who are you stealing these? Who's paying you?
I don't remember.
Oh,
Well-
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I'm gonna slap him.
Oh,
Perhaps that would jog your memory.
no, please. All right, listen. Let me go, though. I'll tell you, and you let me go. We make a deal. Don't turn around and try to kill me
We'll
after,
see.
no? A man must do what he must do. I have a family. I've got 5 kids to feed. Back in the village of Zipser.
Zipser, is it?
Yes.
5 kids in Zipser, okay.
Yes, 5 kids in Zipser.
Oh, make sure you feed them well and get them all plumped up.
Yes. I'll go back to Zipser and feed my children well.
And let me take a look at your teeth. Oh, missing some teeth. Unfortunate.
Yes, missing all of my teeth. Yes, I must eat gruel all the time and eat various congealed oatmeals. It's a nightmare. But this is why I stole the body to make money. And I tell you, it was the brothers at the sawmill, the Zoltan and Zaus. They're the ones who hired us.
You don't say.
Yes, I do say. Yes, they paid us. They paid us 10 gold pieces to do this thing. It could do so much for my...
Have you any idea why they want these bones or rotting corpses, such as the
I
case
don't
may
know.
be?
I don't ask questions. They are students, yes. I understood they had to come home because of the war, but maybe they wanted to continue their studies. I don't know. That's what I tell myself.
I hope it's not necromantic studies.
Well, I think that's probably the best place to leave this episode alone, right there on that line. So, we will be back next time with part 2 of our adventures in Cairn, and we will see you then.
Hey everybody, if you like our podcast, don't forget to leave us a good rating and or review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, or wherever you're able. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at Goonies_world, and check out our website at GooniesWorldPodcast.com. Email us at GooniesWorldPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.